At Champion, we do not diagnose over the phone, not because we lack knowledge, not because we're avoiding responsibility, and not because we're trying to force an appointment. We don't diagnose over the phone because we respect the process. That distinction matters. Any moderately experienced advisor can throw out a likely cause. It's probably brakes. It sounds like a wheel bearing. That's usually a thermostat. But probably is not professionalism. Professionalism is controlled certainty. And certainty in automotive service does not come from description alone. It comes from inspection. It comes from testing. It comes from verification. When a customer calls with a concern, our job is not to label the problem. Our job is to guide the next right step. That shift changes everything. If your goal is to label the issue, you will guess. If your goal is to guide the process, you will lead. So instead of reacting, we say this: there are a few things that could cause what you're describing. The only way to know for sure and give you honest options is to see and test the vehicle. That sentence is not defensive. It is strategic. It accomplishes several things at once. First, it removes pressure. You are not promising an outcome you can't guarantee. You are not locking yourself into a price. You are not setting expectations your technician may have to undo later. Second, it builds trust. You're communicating that you value accuracy over speed, that you value honesty over convenience, that you are not in the business of guessing. Third, it positions the shop as professional, not reactive. Reactive shops diagnose from the counter. Professional shops diagnose in the bay. Customers do not truly want guesses. They say they do. But what they actually want is clarity, and clarity only comes from inspection. When you diagnose over the phone, several negative things happen. You create expectations that may be wrong. You reduce your perceived value to a price number. You undermine your technician before they even touch the vehicle. You increase the likelihood of tension later in the process. Because when the real diagnosis differs from your guess, the customer doesn't hear new information. They hear the price changed, and now trust erodes. But when you anchor everything to inspection from the beginning, something powerful happens. You shift the customer's focus from cost to process. You teach them that professional service follows a sequence: concern, inspection, findings, options, decision. Not concern, guess, price. That is the difference between a repair shop and a professional service operation. When you stop diagnosing over the phone, you stop promising outcomes you can't guarantee. Technicians receive cleaner information. Repair orders become clearer, conversations become easier, and customers feel guided, not sold. They understand that the shop is not avoiding answers. The shop is protecting accuracy, and accuracy is what ultimately protects the customer. There is also a deeper leadership component here. Saying no to phone diagnosis requires confidence. It requires being comfortable with a moment of silence. It requires not rushing to fill the space. It requires believing in your process enough to defend it calmly. Many advisors struggle here. They feel pressure to sound knowledgeable immediately. They feel pressure to provide something tangible. They fear the customer will call somewhere else. But professionalism is not about chasing. It's about positioning. When you calmly explain the need for inspection, you communicate that your shop operates with structure. Structure builds confidence. Confidence builds trust. Trust builds long-term relationships. And long-term relationships are more valuable than winning one rushed phone quote. This class exists to raise the standard of automotive service. And part of raising the standard is knowing when not to answer. Not every question deserves an immediate solution. Some questions deserve a process. Diagnosis belongs in the bay. Testing belongs in the bay. Verification belongs in the bay. The phone is for guidance. And when advisors understand that difference, the entire shop improves. Less chaos, less backtracking, less discounting, more clarity, more control, more leadership. We are not in the business of guessing. We are in the business of verified solutions. And verified solutions start with inspection, not assumption.